thumbs up when
Bless
you're
you.
ready.
Thank you.
It should be good.
All right. I'll now call to order this meeting of the City of White House, Texas for today, August the 1st, 2023. It is 6:03 p.m. Ms. Hargis, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. James Wansley.
Here.
Zach Briscoe.
Here.
Georgia Harris.
Here.
John Chambers.
Here.
Michael Lowe.
Here.
And Heath Rosenstein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please stand if you're able and join Councilman Briscoe as he leads us in a word of prayer. Please bow your head.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all your wonderful blessings, and please guide us tonight as we conduct our city's business. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Sounded great. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, rolling right along. We're on item D, presentations. Do we have any presentations this time? All right, that takes us to item E, community interest. We have some matters of community interest. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, sidewalk improvements along Highway 110 continue. TxDOT has confirmed that they will be replacing the section in front of Goodwill and 110 Dental.
Nice.
They've also noted that they will not have any lane closures prior to 8 a.m. once school is back in session to hopefully
Better.
less traffic there.
It's another good one.
Filing for election is open for places 1, 3, and 5 through August 21st. And just a reminder that we do have a park survey open to the community that we're trying to get responses for.
Thank you. Anything else in the matter of community interest? All right, heading down to public forum. I didn't see anybody sign up for public forum. Is that correct, Ms.
That's
Hargis?
correct.
All right, so we're going to go down to the consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda for your consideration. That's approval of Smith County 911 2023-24 operating budget. If there's no reason for that item to be moved on to the main agenda, I'll entertain a motion of approving the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, we're getting the meat of it. Item H, other action items, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings. Number one is discuss the fiscal year 2023-24 budget and tax rate. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, an update on one of the items we had discussed at a previous meeting before we really jump into the meat of the budget. We had talked about redundant fiber costs through the city of Tyler. They provided a breakdown, apologize that it's so small, of that $30,000 annual fee. The yearly maintenance cost and license cost for the city of Tyler is $12,930. Annual fiber cost. This also includes connection to the community center. And that cost is $8,400. Annual licensing and monitoring fees of $4,200. And additional IT labor costs is $4,470. So that's where that $30,000 total comes from. Again, this is to provide a redundant fiber connection to the city of Tyler. This is not our primary fiber source. So I just wanted to bring that information back to you for your consideration. We do not currently have these additional costs in the proposed budget. So if we want to add those, we'll leave that to your direction.
There was another upfront cost of $96,000.
There was the construction cost.
So that would be 96 plus 30 for the first year.
First year, and 30 recurring plus whatever the CPI increase is annually after that.
So basically $2,500 a month for redundant fiber
Yes.
after the initial
After
investment
the initial
of getting
investment.
it.
You guys with fiber experience, is there anything else, any other options?
I think there
Possibly.
may be
Just one.
in time.
Yeah. I mean, is it a real serious issue that we get this?
It's a serious issue if
Yeah.
we lose fiber,
Yeah.
and then we'll wish we had it. But I'm still got a little bit of sticker shock over the initial cost of it, and then we wait a year and we have an alternative where we didn't have to pay for that 96,000. That's where I'm at.
Yes, sir.
And I think the way that we're currently set up and with our relationship with the city of Tyler, should our systems go down, we are set up in a way that theoretically we should be able to operate remotely from a City of Tyler facility, should we need to, so. I think we have some redundant options that maybe don't provide the same level of capability as what we have if we're fully operational, but I do think we have some options for redundant operations, even if it's not a dedicated fiber connection.
We have some co-working space included in our,
We don't, but
But is there any way to avoid something like happened last year with the one day, I mean, I was out of service for a day, I mean, there's any way,
so we already worked with that. We weren't without fiber
I know you
connection. The
weren't.
city wasn't.
yeah. Yes.
yeah, that's the problem with aerial fiber. That was aerial fiber that was impacted and pulled down. You have this with the in-ground fiber like we have and what they're asking or seeking redundancy on here.
Yeah.
You still have people that dig through. I mean, that'll still happen, but aerial fiber is a little bit more vulnerable.
I just wonder if there's a, you know, if we could ever do a backup situation, cause boy, we probably lost some money.
Are you talking about for
The
the
cities.
community?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's a
Community.
conversation we're having regularly with our fiber providers. Every time we meet with someone, we ask now, what is your plan for redundancy? What does your
Good.
ring look like? What, you know, that's something that's really important to us. I know
You just
Every
gotta
year
have
we
it now,
have-
you gotta have it.
we're asking for it. We may not get it, and it's not a quick process, but we are making sure that it's on their radar as a regular part of our conversation.
You get so used to using it, and when I didn't have it that day, I almost threw my phone down on the concrete. I said, maybe something wrong here.
But for the provider, it has to be, it's a business case, right? Like, they have to know that they can get enough customers to justify the construction costs on that.
True.
So on this fiber, if we went down as a city, city of White House, what would that prevent us to do? Obviously, it's an emergency, something has happened.
Yeah, what
would we
services
not-
would that
yeah,
impact?
what would not, yeah, we not be able to do?
So that would impact, us trying to operate here. Okay, let's go under that assumption, we're trying to operate here. If we lose fiber connectivity, we lose access to all of our utility billing, municipal court, financial software. I mean, almost everything now has to connect to a server, and so,
Water transmitting,
no, we could potentially lose our ability to remotely impact our water sources, turning off water towers, turning on, pumps and that kind of thing, but we could still manually operate.
Do most of our employees have laptops, or most of them?
So the leadership team has laptops, so our department directors have laptops. The other employees of municipal court has a laptop, it's just for here. Of course, PD has computers in their cars,
And we can VPN into the network even if we lose.
we can.
So does fire and police, emergency,
Yeah,
are
good-
those impacted?
good question.
If that were to go down?
They have, separate data.
We got a separate
Okay.
deal.
How many times have we lost fiber in the recent history?
None since I've been here.
But it sure is good to have a backup.
And I mean, but if it goes down maybe a couple of days, maybe a week. You're not able to do financials, you're not able to do, okay. But if it's an
You better pray
emergency
that
thing,
cell phone
okay.
towers don't
It's a
go
little
down.
different. But it doesn't sound like it's gonna be an
That happens,
emergency.
we're done.
Yeah, this seems pretty easy to kind of kick down the road and wait and see what's because I feel like every year it's
Yeah,
like new
okay.
and better and things are coming and I don't know.
It would be good to have a response plan, like when it comes up, how are we gonna behave?
We're gonna all move to Tyler.
Watch your mouth.
But I think it's a good plan, Mayor. I think you just made a good point wouldn't hurt to have kind of a plan of backup plan,
Yeah, now that we know we're probably not gonna get it.
Yeah, well,
It'd be good.
right now,
Yeah, right now.
I just feel we could spend $96,000 elsewhere
Yep.
if we had to spend
I mean,
96,000.
and we are with increases we've already done, so. I mean, it's an increase on an increase.
That's
It's a
right.
lot.
There's a lot, yep.
Move on
Yep.
to
Yeah, thanks for the
just
update.
talking about our budget. If you'll remember, Mayor and Council, I'm gonna kind of go back to the beginning. We are, the the big item in front of you tonight is proposing a tax rate, and that is what our budget hinges on mostly. So we focus a lot on the general fund. We'll talk about a few things in the utility fund, but because property taxes go into the general fund, that's the fund we're primarily gonna focus on tonight. Just as a reminder, we kind of started this process way back, it feels like now, with 4 fiscal goals in mind: reducing our overall tax burden, as you all know, with property values continuing to rise, making sure that we are providing relief to our citizens and businesses while also being fiscally responsible is always our #1 goal. Increasing funding to the EDC, so Susan and I have been working on an ordinance to order the election to change the allocation that the Economic Development Corporation receives from 1/8 of a penny to 1/2 of a penny. So we will be bringing that before you probably at the next council meeting. That will be on the August or September, August.
It'll be next meeting.
August 15th meeting will be on your agenda for that. As you all know, we've done a significant amount of work in increasing our compensation, particularly for police personnel, but across all departments within the city. And then looking at finding sustainable ways to fund infrastructure and capital projects. Some major projects that we have either in progress or are gonna be working on this next fiscal year include our parks plan that's underway and implementing the goals that are in that. Moving forward on construction with the community center. As an update on that, I believe the architect team, contractor, and their price estimator were supposed to be meeting today to refine their price estimates. We're doing some things on process improvement. Jennifer's doing a lot of work to move to more online formats for forms and processes that we can to allow our citizens to be able to conduct business with the city from wherever they may be. Again, economic development, as you all know, they've been working through their strategic plan and work plan that was developed last year, so those subcommittees have been meeting and are in the process of getting a CRM software up and running. Susan's been working really hard on that, so we expect to have some work product out of that coming soon. And then, of course, infrastructure vitality. As you all know, we are in the process of working with a consulting firm to look at our water and wastewater rates. A big piece of that are our 10-year capital and equipment needs that we'll be having, and so looking at ways that we can sustainably fund the capital cost of operating a water and wastewater utility. So today we received our tax rate calculation worksheet from the tax office with Smith County. I sent that all to you earlier and provided a hard copy at your spot. The certified tax appraisal information shows about a 22% increase in appraised value over the prior year rolls. 46 million of that is in new construction. And then, just as a reminder, while everyone at home is impacted by inflation, so all of our city services, prices for city equipment, parts, everything that we purchase goes up as well. And so, looking at and balancing the appraised values, the tax rate, sales taxes, inflation, with all those needs is what we've been working on throughout this entire process. Just as a reminder on tax rates, so M&O is the portion of the tax rates that is dedicated to funding municipal maintenance and operations for general fund activities. INS refers to the portion of the tax rate that is dedicated to paying off debt. The no new revenue rate is the tax rate that would result in generating the same amount of property tax revenue as the prior fiscal year. The de minimis rate is the tax rate that would generate an additional $500,000 in property tax revenues. And the de minimis rate is the highest rate that the city can adopt without triggering an automatic election by the voters. The voter approval rate is the tax rate that would generate a 3.5% increase of property tax revenues over the prior year. And if you exceed the voter approval rate, the voters can petition for an election on the property tax rate. So this is kind of an overview of where we stand this year versus last year. So you can see there a 20% increase in our certified appraisal rolls, about a 13% increase in net taxable value. So you have your certified appraisal roll, your net taxable value takes out any tax ceilings, protests, changes in values, the max increase that a person can see from year to year is accounted for in there. Any veterans exemptions are accounted for in there. You can see that we've had a 17% increase in the amount that is attributed to sales tax to reduce property tax. We had a 92% increase in the value of new construction. So last year, we were at 22 million in new construction, and this year we're at 42 million in new construction values. Our debt payment has decreased slightly by about 5%. This shows you if you were to adopt the de minimis rate, you would see about a 29% increase in the M&O property tax revenue over the prior year. And then that bottom row shows the differences in property tax rates. So last year, the no new revenue rate was at about 70 cents. This year it's at 67 cents. The voter approved rate was at 70 cents. This year is at 66 cents. The de minimis rate is at 0.717 for the current year. And just as a reminder, our current property tax rate is at 0.772891. Staff in the next item is going to be recommending that you approve the de minimis rate at 0.717. This is about a 5.5 cent decrease in the current property tax rate. One of the things I wanted to show you and that I'm really proud of, and this council ought to be really proud of, these are our historical tax rates, and again, it's kind of small, but one of the things that I took away in looking at this is that we have decreased our debt property tax rate by nearly half since 2019. And that includes a $10 billion issuance in between. So when we start looking at those fiscal goals, when we start talking about reducing the overall tax burden, you know, this is a property tax increase or decrease of about 8.5 cents in the last 2 years. This is a debt property tax rate decrease of almost 50% in the last 4 years. This includes funding for critical projects in our parks, funding for critical compensation in our public safety, a new fire engine, a new fleet, new equipment, additional personnel, all while reducing the tax burden for our taxpayers. So the staff is very proud to present this budget to you. We do have a couple of more changes that you will see between now and the August 15th meeting. We will get an updated contract from Tyler IT based on your direction tonight. Staff recommends reducing the pilot or the payment in lieu of taxes from the utility fund to the general fund. Right now, our utility fund is showing to operate at a deficit for the upcoming fiscal year of about $51,000. We recommend reducing that pilot by that amount to get the utility fund to balance. And then we want to change one item in the Youth Community Council funding. We had originally thought that we were going to contribute to the staff member that was overseeing that, but because of some staffing changes at White House ISD, we're going to take that under the city operations, and so we're going to change that funding to provide, we're going to increase it a little bit to provide lighting at the Veterans Memorial, if that's all right with you, to light the statue and the flagpole that is being proposed by the potential Eagle Scout that presented to you all at the last meeting. So those changes will be coming. One thing that we had discussed previously that is not included in the utility fund budget, as I mentioned, right now the utility fund is showing to operate at a deficit. That's with a few things outstanding, right? Our water and wastewater rate study is still outstanding, so we understand the financial implications of that fund are expected to change in the next fiscal year. Public Works Director Jason Wright had mentioned and did an amazing pitch on a hydrovac machine. That's not included at this point. We really want to take all of the capital and equipment needs that the utility fund has, put them in that water and wastewater rate study and understand what that's going to do to our rates and our needs over the long term to make sure that we are being fiscally sustainable and responsible for both capital and equipment needs over the next 10 years. So with that, that's all I have related to that item, and then we'll talk about tax rate and a little bit more.
Thank you very much. Lots of work on this from every department. I know it's longer than baseball season, tax season. It's a long time, so thanks for putting so much thought and effort into it. And I know as a council, we're proud of the progress that we make in the city. Trying to fill in some holes that have been left behind for years and decades, and it feels like we're really hitting some momentum with this. Any questions or comments from the council on the budget?
I like the idea about the veterans deal. I really like that. I hope we should hear from the gentleman, the Eagle Scout guy, about his proposal, right? And what the layout and all this. And how tall are the posts? I'm sure we will, yeah. Ms. Leslie, what do you attribute our, and I really like what I'm seeing on this historical tax rate. I mean, this is really amazing. What do you think, what's the reason behind our progress? What do you think?
So I think it's a lot of things. I think you
Yeah.
have a council that laid out a really strong and progressive vision for this community in the 2018 strategic plan. I think we have a staff that is committed to keeping costs and expenses as low as possible and doing an absolute bang-up job at doing a whole lot with very little. I think you've seen, with residential and commercial growth, it gives you just a lot more buying power and opportunity to do more with lower tax rates. People shopping in White House and sales tax increases always reduces your property tax burden.
Sure.
I think being really proactive in our fiscal management and fiduciary responsibilities is really important and helps with that as well. One of the things I'm most excited about, when I came in 2019, and we still are incredibly lean on our maintenance and operations side, but we were at a point where we were financing things like HVAC replacement. We are funding a lot more of those things just as general maintenance and operations and not having to issue the same amount of debt for. Being able to finance a new fire engine on a different kind of bond or debt instrument rather than having to issue long-term bonds and debt for that is huge. That's not a place we were at several years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussions or questions? All right, that takes us over to item H2, set a proposed 2023-24 tax rate, take a recorded vote, and setting of the public hearing date. Well, we have a proposed tax rate that is the de minimis rate that would lower the tax rate by, 5.5 cents? A cent and a half more than what we've been hoping to lower it, so that is great news. As taxpayers, we're all happy. Everybody on council is a taxpayer, just as a reminder. And that's the discussion ahead of us, so.
So Mayor and Council, I think as I've reiterated throughout the budget process, we put our best guess of what those property tax revenues are gonna be in there, and we do a pretty good job of getting relatively close on what that means for our revenue side. If you all remember, we had a project list with a line kind of halfway through it on what we were hoping to accomplish, and once we received these tax rate calculations today, I'm happy to say that everything that we have been talking about funding is in that general fund budget. So that is great news. I think we will actually probably increase our property tax revenue line item slightly based on these numbers today. And again, be able to continue and fund all of the projects that we have talked about through this process. So staff is confident in the rate calculations that we received from Mr. Barber today. And again, recommends approving a rate of 0.717855 per $100 evaluation for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, where 0.435626 is fees for maintenance and operations and 0.282229 for interest and CP funds, and setting a public hearing on the tax rate for 6 p.m. on August 15th, 2023, here at 311 East Main Street in White House.
If there's no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion of approving the current tax rate and public hearing data stated by City Manager Leslie Black.
Do you need to read it like it's on here?
Make the motion as presented.
Yes.
Because I don't have much voice.
Well, I'll be happy to make the motion to approve the tax rates as presented for the 23-24 fiscal year.
Second.
And the public hearing date?
And a public hearing date of August 15th at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
16th or 15th?
15th.
15th.
Yeah, I'll second
I have a motion, Councilman Briscoe, a second from Councilman Chambers. Let's take a roll call vote, please.
Keith Rosenstein,
Yes.
Zach Briscoe,
Yes.
Michael Lowe,
Yes.
Georgia Harris,
Yes.
John Chambers.
this. Yes.
And with that, we have a proposed tax rate and hearing date. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us down to item H3, consider future agenda items. Here's some of the things we're considering.
So Mayor and Council, August 15th will be your last pass at the budget and tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year. And just as a reminder, some other things we had previously discussed, an update on special projects, the Veterans Roadway designation. We are also working on an item to bring before you for sport court improvements on our leased property with White House ISD. So, and the election for sales tax allocations.
What kind of court improvements?
Striping for pickleball and basketball, and the purchase of a net. for
Yeah,
pickleball.
Which is real popular.
that's right.
It is. I went to try and go find a court on Saturday morning and could not.
Really?
Every one of them covered
Bergfeld,
up.
TJC.
They're both covered up.
Done.
You have to push the kids out of the way and
It's
direct.
not being enough, I guess.
It's a
So.
bad look for our city.
Yeah.
The Veterans Roadway designation is getting there, we're getting there, we're learning a lot more about what we need to do, can do, should do, how to do.
We're trying to look at all the options. and
Good,
see what-
thank you so much.
All right, anything else we want to consider for future agenda items?
Pickleball tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Challenge.
Hagan Road, I had read, do we have a possible erosion? Is that what I had read? What's going on with that?
So we are working with one of our city engineers to come up with some possible solutions on that, and figure out how we need to proceed. So we're in engineering preliminary design, I would say.
Where's
for
that
some
at?
solutions.
In reference to, say, 110 and
It's closer
where
to
it comes out?
346, it's
Okay.
at Mockingbird, which is Golden Eagle, I think is the name of that
It's
road.
about halfway down. Very close.
Well, anything like that's bad, but is it real bad?
I mean, if you live there, it is.
That's what I mean,
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, it's problematic, it needs to be addressed.
yeah, okay.
nice, okay.
Anything else for future agenda items? All right, hearing none, that takes us down to item,
No, nothing,
okay.
nothing.
Takes down to item I, executive session, of which we have none. We're not gonna reconvene. Item J, item K, adjourn. Is there any business to discuss? Hearing none, the time is 6:30, and this meeting is adjourned.
That record?
That's it, right,
Yes, you're right.
that's right. I'll make a motion that we adjourn,
Okay.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mike.
It's a little rococo in.
No,
it's
thank you,
fine in
Mr.
our-
Jordan, I hope you get to feeling better.
Thank you.
I call,
It ain't fun, I've been there.
sometimes I do a
That was
motion,
fun.
don't get a